I took my income from 0 to $18,000 in 1 month in just 365 days. In this video, I'm laying out the exact steps I took to get here, the struggles I faced, my journey so far, and what it's actually like to earn 18,000 US dollars in 1 month. Get rocking and rolling. Let me tell you a bit about life a year ago. So a year ago, I was working in door-to-door sales. After dropping out of uni, I was pretty lost. You know, a lot of my friends, my family thought he's going downhill, he's made a mistake, all of this shit. I thought, you know what, let's get some sales skills. Pretty decent skill to have. I feel like I'm pretty good at communicating, speaking with people. So I did a whole year of door to door sales. It was pretty time intensive. So 14-hour, 16-hour days, 6 days a week. I sacrificed a good relationship with my girlfriend. I sacrificed time with my friends, time with my family. I didn't have a life. One thing I did crave was being able to travel, being able to live that life, that nomadic life, doing things in different countries, exploring the world. I always knew I was going to be successful, always, but I just had no idea how and when it was going to happen. So, to give you some insight on what life looks like a year later, I recently booked a one-way flight to Valencia, Spain, where I plan on basing for a few months, traveling abroad, seeing which country suits me, and living the life. All of this whilst hitting my first 18,000 US dollar month in commissions as a high ticket closer, the most money I've ever made. I'll be honest, it is pretty surreal, living the life that I visualized and planned out a year ago and it actually coming true. It just goes to show that, look, like if you plan things, if you really believe you're gonna hit it, if you put in the fucking work, then it's gonna happen. So when I was in door-to-door sales, I thought, you know what, this is not going to get me to my goals of being a millionaire, being rich, traveling the world, all of this. So I thought, what can I do from here? I've got pretty decent sales skills. I've run a team. I've managed 9 different sales reps and helped them, taught them the skill. What can I do? I thought, you know what, why not just sell more expensive shit? It makes sense, right? I thought the different paths, car sales, all of that. I knew that that just wouldn't get me to where I want to go. I've heard all these stories of people not really living life, not earning the money what they want to earn, working 12-hour shifts, and there's just no point switching from low ticket sales to high ticket sales, but just working 16-hour days, whatever. So I took to the online space. I was super interested by it because I thought, oh, I want to travel the world, work on my laptop, work on a beach, sipping a margarita whilst earning money, all that bullshit, right? And I spoke to a good mate of mine. I said, look, I know about this online high ticket sales world in the online space. I want to get into it, but I just have no idea how to. I've been watching YouTube videos, but it's not really giving me a clear direction. He said something that did terrify me a bit. So I've got a mate and he teaches people how to get into this space. Course costs quite a bit of money. Jump on a call with him and see what happens. I jumped on a call thinking it was going to be like 1K, which was a lot to me at that time. And I thought, you know what, let's see what he says. I was given ums and ahs. I was at my girlfriend's place taking the call. I remember it clear as day. And he quoted me like 4 grand US. I was terrified. Honestly, I was thinking 4 grand? That's all the money I've saved up over the past few years. I don't have that money. I've never invested that money at once. Terrifying. Like alarm bells ringing off, fight or flight. I was thinking, let's flee. Let's run. Let's fly. And I gave him the think about it objection, saying, "Oh, I've got to catch a train. Oh, I've got to go back to Manchester, leave my girlfriends." He said, "Tom, can I be honest with you?" I said, "Yeah, go on." He said, he said, "I think you should just stop being a bitch." And that's not a usual sales tactic, by the way, so I wouldn't use that on your sales calls. But my ego, thinking, "Oh, I don't want to be a bitch." I said, "You know what? He's true. I need to stop being a bitch." So I went for it. I jumped on board with the payment plan and I was terrified. I had to make it work. Knowing that this space is more entrepreneurial, closer to entrepreneurial than just being a typical employee in a 9 to 5 job, I knew I was on the right path. So I just threw myself at it. So at first it was super challenging, like super slow. I was jumping on calls with random geezers on the internet, practicing my sales skills, practicing transferring my corporate sales skills to the online space. I then tried to start standing out and working with my first client. I remember getting a short-term, full-time job that was a lot more time free than the door-to-door gig, whilst I was outreaching to clients and trying to make it work. What I would do is I'd outreach to potential clients in the morning, whilst on the train to work, in work under the table, at lunch, under the table in the afternoon, in the evening, just like 24/7, just sending videos to random people on Instagram saying, "Look, I can close for you. I can be your next closer, whatever." And it was tough. I wasn't getting any responses whatsoever. Hundreds and hundreds of outreach messages, but just no one was replying. And being in door-to-door sales, I've had a lot of doors slammed in my face, so I thought this was normal. I was like, yeah, I can get through this easy. I'd had Sally in the suburbs of Manchester telling me to fuck off and get off her lawn and all of this, so I could do a few outreach videos. And then I finally landed my first client through luck. They actually reached out to me on LinkedIn, and I thought, oh, I made it. I'm gonna be traveling the world. Turns out it was a bit of a dead offer. It was like a cowboy offer, like a 20-year-old guy who's just not really been in business for long, and I didn't earn any money. After about 3 weeks, I got another offer. And at this point, the business owner of the corporate job saw me on Twitter posting, trying to get into this space, and he said, "Look, it breaches your contract. We can't have you." So when I was moving into a new apartment in Manchester, thinking I was going to pay rent through the corporate job, I got pretty much got fired, right, for trying new things and getting found out for it on the online space. So I thought, you know what, I've got to make this work. The next day, I landed an offer, which was the first good offer I went on. I started to hit the ground running. I made like 3K in the first month, 5K USD in the second month, and then the third month hit like 9K in USD, which was crazy to me. Like I quit a job, moved into a new apartment in Manchester, and I was thinking, wow, like things have fallen into place. But it was interesting because if I didn't go all in, then I might not be in the situation I was in today. I know that going all in and just being terrified and making that scary decision got me to that first 3K month in online high ticket sales. Now, once I started to get some decent success, the owner of the business of the course that I took to get into high ticket sales messaged me and said, "Look, I've seen you've been posting some pretty good wins in the community. You're on a pretty decent offer. You've got a good mindset. I'd love you to start taking a few calls for me, replacing the business owner as their first closer." So I started to take a few calls in the evening, right? A few calls for them, started to go pretty well. Then a month later, I realized, you know what, I'm going to go all in with this company. The people who taught me how to get into this game. Reason being is I've got the confidence to say, look, you're either a good fit or not, right? I've done it myself. I've been a broke 21-year-old to doing pretty decent. So it's easy for me to have conviction. Funny enough, that's the exact company that took me to the first 18K a month I've ever had. So leaning into that uncertainty, thinking, is this company going to be the one who gets me where I want to go? And just going balls to the wall and all in has got me where I am today. That's probably the main bit of advice I'd tell myself like 5 years ago. Just do shit that scares me. And I've had a blast of a time with this company. Since I've jumped on board with this client, I've traveled to numerous different countries with the team. I've traveled to Holland, South Africa, Spain, Italy, Austria. I've done everything that I set out to do a year ago. And it's crazy. Not to mention being sick outside of the window of an Audi R8 whilst driving in Cape Town, South Africa. I'll pop a picture up here. It's not the best pay for me, pretty poor from me. I guess to name a couple key lessons that I would tell my 20-year-old self is there's no growth that comes from comfort. Everything that happened to me a year ago and everything that's happening to me today is a result of me just doing shit that scares me. Like getting out of my comfort zone, thinking, oh, is this going to work? Oh, this is a pretty ballsy decision. I just say to myself that if you want an above average life, you've got to do stuff that the average doesn't do. right? You've got to be willing to do stuff that's fucking scary. I'd say another mistake that, especially in the first few months of closing, that I made that I would tell myself a year ago is not to get comfortable. It's very easy to think, oh, I'm doing great. Yeah, top 1%, all that shit. And then stagnating, moving backwards. What I would do instead is just take a breath, celebrate the wins, reflect, and then just get back to work. Double down on what I did to get here. If I could tell you a bit about the final push, actually hitting that number, it's a funny one because every single time I've hit some form of financial milestone or whatever, I've never actually focused on it. I've never thought, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this month. It's just happened and I've not expected it. I never even thought I'd hit it. I just do the work and it happens. It's like the gym, you don't focus on the muscles, you just do the shit. And right now, in terms of what it feels like to earn 18K in a month, I've got a few mixed feelings. On one hand, I feel very comfortable knowing that I can have an abundance mindset. I can sort of buy the day-to-day things that I want without feeling any discomfort. I know I'm good, right? I know I'm not going to go bankrupt. I'm not going to lose all my money and I don't need to worry for months and months and months. But on the other hand, it makes me feel really small. Getting into this space, earning decent money, it just makes me realize, without sounding weird or arrogant, how little 18K actually is compared to the big dogs in this space. So it makes me feel like I need to grind even more, get to the next level. If I can do this, then I can actually just do anything I want financially. The future goals, you're probably thinking, what's next? My goal is to build one of the biggest sales consultancy businesses in the whole info product space. I want to manage sales teams. I want to guide info products businesses in terms of how to scale, how to make more money, and how to grow. There we have it. That is the conclusion. That is pretty much everything in terms of my experience from going zero a month to earning 18,000 in a single month, just 365 days after starting out. I will see you at the next milestone. Hopefully, you can document yours as well and we can both compare, you know, see where we come. What I want you to do though is drop a comment below in terms of the main struggles you feel like you've been facing in terms of getting into the online space, starting businesses and making money online. I'd love to see if I can help. I'd love to compare, give you any advice in terms of how I overcame them as well. But I won't blab all day. Have a good one. See you soon. Bash.